watching another episode of my Derby Romance. I want to let you know that I really appreciate your support and I hope this encourages you. Today, I'm here with Doppelganger. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Doppelganger. Most people call me Dopp, D-O-P-P. I currently skate with Wasatch Roller Derby. I'm the captain of the Midnight Terror, which is their woofda woofda. People yell at me for how many syllables I put in that phrase. Um, Travel team. I also skate with our open gender team, Uinta Madness Roller Derby. And I'm hoping to be able to coach the junior team here shortly.
Wow. What is the open gender team?
So we accept all genders. So WFDA is female identifying non-binary. Um, and then you have all men's leagues or any kind of mixture within. An open gender league accepts all identities and allows them to skate competitively. So I believe that there's a competitive league for that. We're working towards that right now, but for right now, because of COVID, we're just kind of like, you want to skate, come hang out with us. So that's where we're at right now.
That's awesome. And where are you at? Like, where are you located?
I live in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Awesome. Awesome. So, when did you fall head over skates for roller derby?
Um, my romance with roller derby has been fraught with ups and downs. We've broken up and we've gotten back together. I started skating in March of 2013, and I've been going pretty strong ever since. It's seen me through a couple of moves, one across states. I started originally skating in Wyoming, which interestingly enough, at one point was the highest per capita number of roller derby teams for any given state. Um, Wyoming is tiny, but at one point we had like 9 or 10 roller derby leagues in various different places. So I started there and then I moved down to Utah, where I found a higher level of competition. And that's kind of where I really fell in love with it, was the higher level of competition. Before, I really enjoyed the family that I had. But moving down to Salt Lake City really showed me what my capabilities were. And it showed me that I could be an athlete when before I wasn't an athlete. So that's kind of where I fell in love with it. We've broken up a couple times, especially during the pandemic. I had to take some time off to really evaluate whether or not it was worth consuming my life. And we're working on drawing boundaries now. So yeah, so that's kind of my history in roller derby. I've played for a number of ranked teams as far as competition goes in Wyoming as well as Utah. So
Awesome. That's so interesting because I am going through the same thing right now. I was super excited to go back. We were working on tiers like individual skating, footwork. We started getting, lower cases, so we were able to do more. And once we started scrimmaging, I had so many things going on that it was like I realized I had no boundaries with derby. Like whether I was tired, if I didn't feel good, not like COVID wise, but just my stomach was hurting. Like I would make myself go, and so I'm actually on an LOA right now
yeah,
because
I recently did that as well. Our team was able to come back and go up the tiers, and especially with the new um, return policy, we were able actually to go pretty far where we were scrimmaging and things like that. And
right.
We I took an LOA for the month of July just because I was literally going. I mean, I do CrossFit as well, so I go to CrossFit in the morning. I work all day, and then I go back to Derby for 3 or 4, 2 to 3 hours because I also coach new skaters. And so I took an entire leave of absence for July and said no to Derby for a long time because I needed to decide if I was still in love with it. The demands, not of the sport, but of the mentality of it and the ability to get along with people who you may not see eye to eye with, and those kinds of things were really wearing me down. And I'm a teacher as well, so like I was dealing with being a teacher during the pandemic as well as doing roller derby, and so it just got to be a little bit too much. So I took all of July off, and even at this point I'm like drawing boundaries of like, no, you're only going to practice 3 times a week. Like, you need to have some time to yourself. And so that's kind of like the romance part of it, is like learning to love myself as a derby player and then being available for derby as a whole. So yeah, I feel you there, where it's like, no, I need the break. I need the mental time to figure out where I'm at. So
Right. Like I'm doing a fellowship at a farm here, learning to go back to it's a fellowship to teach farmers how to make use of the land and ancestrally farm, like the way our ancestors used to do.
right, yeah.
So I'm exhausted, and I was having practice days on farm days because it's only 3 times a week. And so I said, I'll probably take, my fellowship is over in November. So I'm probably going to take all that time off just to work on that, to work on this. My derby romance does take some time to, take care of and whatnot. And plus I'm trying to write my 3rd book. So it's kind of like, where does derby fit now? Like it's gotten me so far after 12 years and I still I'll never stop skating, but like, I'm just not excited I'm not excited about being competitive with roller derby anymore. Like, I feel like it'll always be a part of my life and I'll always support it. And I never want to stop skating. But I don't know about like bouting for me anymore. I might have to just NSO and ref or just support it. I'm not sure. I don't even know.
See, and that's for me. I do enjoy the bouting aspect because, like I said, I wasn't considered an athlete growing up. I was in a back brace. I was that chubby, nerdy kid that was sitting in corners of the cafeteria reading, like, and I'm still that kid, but now I also like can bench press the people that pick on me. But for derby, it's like the competition is what keeps me going. The possibility that I will eventually get to bout is what keeps me going. What turns me off really is derby is so unique in that it attracts everyone. We welcome everyone. No athletic background needed. But the problem is it also attracts this element of, well, I expect this sport to save my soul. And so they expect the sport to do the mental health for them versus them doing the mental health for it. Do you know what I mean? So like they don't take the LOAs, they become obsessed with roller derby. And there's nothing wrong with that if you have strong coping mechanisms. But if you don't, derby can sometimes become the dark side where I'm really angry. I'm just going to show up and beat people up today. And in my mind, and I can only speak for me, I'm not speaking for my league or the derby community as a whole or anything like that. That's unhealthy behavior because you're bringing your aggression to people that are supposed to support you versus your aggression and things like that. You are literally turning your aggression onto the people that don't deserve it, that are there to listen to you, that are there to support you. And so that's where I really struggle with it, is the mental health of it all, is because one, the whole stigma behind mental health is I'm fine 100% of the time. And then derby does this thing where I become obsessed with derby. And I was part of that league. I was definitely a part of that league where I lived, ate, breathed. Wow, English teacher with words. Derby, and it was unhealthy for me. And I'm not saying that's true for everyone, but for me especially, like derby became part of the problem. And so the solution was to step away for a little bit. So I did take a long time of a break. I took about a 6-month break from derby between moving from Wyoming to Utah. Plus I was in a really toxic relationship and things like that. And so that break really put it in perspective of what do I want to get out of roller derby, but also what can I contribute to my team? If my headspace isn't in it for teammanship, then there's really no point of me going to practice, because I'm going to sit and spread my toxic mood to everyone else going. And so I think that, yeah, derby is this really interesting place where everyone is welcome. But if the league isn't strong and stressing like you're an individual while still being part of a team, the struggle is real. And so I've kind of gotten into the coaching aspect of it all. Do you know what I mean? Like still supporting Derby, but like I'm going to coach now because I know I'm at a place where I can start spreading that message of you're not here for what Derby is. So I love you. Please sit down and really think about what you want out of Derby and what you can contribute before you really hit the track. And really pushing that, like, focus on your personal growth, but also growth as part of a team. So I don't know. There's your big, long, circuitous thing about like supporting Derby right there.
No, absolutely. And I know you're saying, you said, you know, that's how I feel about it. I'm not saying everybody feels like that about it, but I think a lot of people do feel like that. I feel like that. I feel that Derby is there in a way to get your power back, right? Where somebody has stolen your power in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a condescending boss or feeling the way that you did in school, and getting your power back from where they have stolen, to show yourself, I am capable of being the person that I saw before you tore me down, whether it's a toxic relationship at work, in the home, at school, wherever it is. And I feel that it should be a safe place for you to get your power back, to know your own strength, to be able to fall and get back up physically, because on the outside you can see that you can do it. So enough times of it, you'll be able to see it on the inside. But yes, I've gotten to a certain extent where I don't have anything to leave on the track anymore, per se. And I'm taking what people are leaving. And in my energy level, I'm kind of like, I don't really, you know, it was a give and take for a long time, you know, like, I'm here to support you. I'll take it. I'll take those hits. I'll absorb them. You'll take mine, and then we'll hug it out later, whatever, right? But like now I'm kind of just like, I'm good.
Yeah. Now
good.
it's becoming like a lot more of like, I'll take the hit, but I don't know if I'm going to hug you afterward. And I think that that's where you lose your power again. Do you know what I mean? You said Derby is a place where you get your power, and that's 100% correct. You get your power, but at some point, unless you internalize that power and realize that you are powerful with or without Derby.
That part right there.
Yeah, I think that Derby becomes this miasma, this black hole where unless you internalize your power, Derby becomes the power. And then people start to see, and this, again, I'm going to stress this. This is just my point of view. I'm not speaking for anyone other than myself. I think that Derby becomes this dark hole that people start seeing it as their power rather than I am powerful and I do Derby. It becomes I do Derby, therefore I am powerful.
Beautifully said.
And so I think that the way that Derby is going now, really, and the pandemic has showed us that, is that it needs to be more about mental health. The physical health and the mental health coming together and forming one strong person versus the person being the plaything. So yeah, that's, the LOAs, I completely understand those. And please, people need to take them.
Yes.
I mean, even outside of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. And Derby doesn't go anywhere. It's been there for me since 2008, and it's going strong. And so you can leave and come back. I went to recovery for 2 years. I was reffing, but like it was still there when I was ready to bout again. It's a good friend. It'll be there for you when you come back.
Exactly. And part of that friendship is making sure that you can contribute positively to it. I mean, yeah, if we anthropomorphize Derby as a person, if we personify it's always going to be there, but it's just like a friendship. It can't be one-sided. It has to be a give and take. And so that's kind of what this pandemic has been showing me, is that for a long time, I was thinking, I do Derby, therefore I am powerful. And between therapy, because mental health is important, between therapy and taking my time to think about my relationship to Derby, I'm starting to realize that no, I am powerful and I play roller derby. So I'm always a proponent of like, your head isn't here. Sugar, come back when you're ready. How can we support you outside of Derby?
So how did your first derby date go, whether it be your first practice or your first bout?
I don't remember my first practice. Um, I know that I did a lot of eggshells and looked like a fool, and I'm proud of it. Um, because like I said, I had no athletic background. Those people that like literally you show them a drill and they're immediately good at it, like power to you, honey, but I hate you a little bit. Hate you. I mean, I'm gonna try and keep up with you because like I'm that competitive, but my first bout, so evolving from the lovely baby deer that I was, um, and bless this team's soul that taught me how to roller skate because they were a rec league that did their best with what they had. But my first bout, I didn't know the rules. I had not completely passed minimums. And I went literally was like, I'm going to go cheer on this team that I've joined. And it was an away game in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Um, and they're like, here's a jersey you're playing. And I was like, here we go. All right. And I remember just flat out, you know, those like panic hits and those like, moments. That was
Yeah.
straight up me. I believe I Superman tackled someone at one point, just straight up leapt upon them. Um, but it always makes for a remarkable story because the new skaters that I teach, I look at them and go, it took me 2 years to be able to like function properly in a wall. And it took me skating several bouts for that to happen. And it took me going to so many trainings, as many trainings as I could find, and scrimmages and mixers and all these things. So like just because you're falling on your face every 30 seconds now doesn't mean you always will be.
Mhm.
But that definitely stands out in my brain of I straight up Superman tackled someone. Should I have been ejected? Absolutely. Was I? No.
Oh, I'm
So yeah, that
glad.
stands out remarkably well in my mind.
Wow, that's a beautiful first date, right?
Right? Yeah.
So how did you come up with your alter ego?
So I'm a twin. And so doppelganger just kind of, you know, mirror image, evil image, whatever you want to think of that as. But I used to work in the coal mines of Wyoming, open pit. We weren't underground. Don't worry about my lungs. Um, and somebody in the warehouse, I was in there probably like pouring concrete or something like that, and they started calling me doppelganger because they worked with my twin sister as well, and so it kind of stuck. So for a while, I was going through some names because I have a cool last name too. Like my last name is Buff, and I
Mhm.
definitely could have done something with that. But doppelganger just stuck because um, my whole identity is I'm a twin. There's two of me, and that's terrifying. Um, and so I also needed a family friendly derby name because I am a teacher and I wanted to be able to tell my students that I played roller derby and this is my roller derby name. So that's what I came up with. I tossed around like Hufflepuff because I'm a Harry Potter nerd, Bamazon, Hypnotize, but Doppelganger just kind of settled in like a new coat. And so that's who I've ever been ever since. Um, yeah.
And have you ever felt that you lost doppelganger? And if so, how did you get them back?
No, because I've always been doppelganger. So it's really interesting. Um, when I came out as queer to my family, my real name is Katie, Katie, and I dropped the vowels and I always make the joke of, you know, I'm discriminatory against vowels. So I go by the initials KT because it's more androgynous and it suits me more. So I always joke that I have all these different facets of my personality that come out in my names. So with my family, I'm Katie, and Katie is a good daughter and everything like that. That's part of me. With my friends and my coworkers, I'm KT, which is like who I am. but a lot of my friends are also derby people. So Doppelganger is also who I am. I am a twin. I'm a badass. I don't know if I can say ass, but I just said it twice. Um,
You're fine.
um, and so Dop is who I am when I'm competitive. At the CrossFit gym, I'm Dop. That's just my workout persona. My badassery is Dop. But what's interesting about it is my friends and I, because we are struggling with roller derby, we started calling each other by our real names, and we make a point to use our human names, because once again, I am powerful and I do derby. I am not powerful because I do derby. And so we're really making that distinction of Dop is still there. Dop and KT are the same person. But I'm KT. There's more to me than roller derby. And so I've never really lost Dop. I've never really lost Doppelganger. She's still there, but KT's just as powerful. So, yeah.
Awesome. So what were you looking for in roller derby?
An identity. So in high school and junior high, I was that nerdy kid that read books in the corner, and that was me.
So that
As an adult, finding my queer identity in Wyoming was rough. So I was pretty much a loner. I was perfectly happy, like watching TV, cooking for myself, not being around other humans. In Wyoming, that's really easy to do. And so I had just started my first teaching job. I was living in a town that I'd never been to. I was completely alone, didn't really know anybody. The people I worked with were all older than me. So I wanted something where I could find a community. I had just come out to myself. I had just come out to like the world. And so I wanted a new identity, one that was I felt was a badass that could face the trials of the world, that wasn't defined by her anxiety, that wasn't defined by her family, that wasn't, because this is kind of a circuitous route, but I never really had an identity. Growing up, my family is prolific where I grew up in Nevada. And then we moved to Wyoming, all I had was my family. I wasn't good at making friends. I did theater, so I had a community within theater, and I did speech and debate, so I had a community within speech and debate. College was the same. I had my theater peeps and my speech and debate peeps, but it was very much like just me. And so I wanted something that made me feel like a badass. I had started working out, I was running and things like that. And so a friend of mine who I was going through training with at this school was saying that she played roller derby and invited me to come along and check it out. So I did. And the first bout I watched, I didn't see the competition level of it because I didn't think like a sports person. I did speech and debate and theater. And so what I saw was people taking their own power and working together within a community. And I saw queers like I'd never seen queers before. And so I joined because I wanted to find out who I was, because I didn't have an identity. It was either my last name or I was part of a set of twins, where people, when you're a twin, an identical twin, people don't even learn your first name. You're just one of the twins. And I had a graduating class of 23 people in high school. And so in that small amount of a group, I still didn't have an identity. In college, I had an identity for a year, and then my sister transferred to my college. And again, I became part of the twins. And I love my sister and I love my family. But I wasn't me. I wasn't a me. I was a them. And so derby allowed me to craft the persona that I wanted to be. And then slowly that persona was me. And so that's why I've stuck with it this long, even though sometimes I hate it. I hate roller derby at times, especially when I have to deal with skaters that ruin the fun for everyone. because I'm on the board for my derby team. This is my second year on the board. I've been with this league like 2.5 years, and I'm on the board for 2 years and things like that. So seeing the dark side of derby definitely makes me hate it, but seeing my own power makes me keep coming back.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to be that close, right? I just want to skate. I don't want to know. I'm part of the board too. So
right. So like I'm head of training and athletics. So whenever I show up, if someone doesn't have a lesson plan for teaching the lesson that day, no matter what league I'm skating with, all of a sudden I take over. And so sometimes it's nice. That's one of the boundaries I'm working on is, sorry, I'm just here to skate today.
Yeah.
Figure it out. So
good for you. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. How does derby make you feel?
I think we've kind of hit on that a little bit. It makes me feel safe because I know what I'm doing. It challenges me like nothing else in my life. But it makes me a little sad because I've given so much, and I shouldn't say roller derby. And maybe I'm speaking to specific teams and things that I've, experiences that I've had, but it makes me a little sad because it's gone from this, let's have fun, to not much fun anymore sometimes, especially with the pandemic and the politicalization of it all and things like that. And I'm not getting into politics because everybody can believe what they want to believe. I'm not going to tell you what's wrong or right because that makes me a hypocrite. But it went from being this beer league thing to the serious sport, which I'm proud of. And that climb was hard, and we're still struggling to be taken seriously as a real sport. We still deal with the questions of who's the ball, but it makes me sad in that it started as this riotous rock on movement, and it's become this tiger with chains. I'm gonna get in trouble for that. I'm gonna get some emails for that.
No, I remember at one point saying, who sucked all the fun out of derby, at one point. But I believe that there's a kind of derby for everyone, right? You don't have to do lift it up. You can always do renegade. You can always do there, and so there was judgments of how seriously you take derby. But like it's been communicated, derby has to be for the individual. And if they don't care about rankings, then they don't care about rankings. They just want to get on their skates and kick some ass. And if they do care about rankings, then they do care about rankings, and they have the right to do that. And that's the glorious part of the diversity of derby, that there is diversity. And so it doesn't have to be just this or that.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of why I said like the tiger with chains, because sometimes you feel held back within derby, but then it's still ferocious. It's still there. It's still roaring, and it's still figuring out a way to like escape those chains. And I think as it grows and changes and evolves, that's what we're really for, is like the evolution of derby. And it's normal. Like everything comes in ebbs and flows, right? And maybe we're in an ebb in some areas and maybe we're in a flow in others. And it goes back to like what we said earlier, is derby's always going to be there. It finds a way to persevere, and it finds that way within people. And people are remarkable, whether you agree with them, disagree with them, hate them, love them, hit them, hug them, whatever. People are remarkable, and derby's going to keep continuing to draw those remarkable people to it. So I think that once people move beyond the pigeonholing of it all, like you said, there's derby for everyone. So many people, and myself, I literally just got caught in it, of pigeonholing derby. And I'll own that. Like, growth is important. But once people stop saying this is what derby is, I think it's going to be a monster. And it already is, and it has been. But once we stop having to label everything, and pigeonhole it, like take your power, that's when we fall in love with derby again. And that's what kind of changed my mind about derby and coming back, because I was very close to quitting altogether, was I stopped having to define derby in my mind. I didn't have to give it one definition. Derby is it's an idea, it's a feeling. And so one day derby feels good and one day derby doesn't feel good. And so I think once I stopped being closed-minded about it, in my angst about it, yeah.
So we talk about derby being this growing obsession, especially when you first start, right? It's this new thing. Was there ever a time that roller derby was out of balance in your life?
Yeah. And I'm strong enough to recognize that. Yeah, roller derby is just like anything new or anything challenging or anything like that. There's going to be times where it's great. There's going to be times where it's not. And you just learn to find your coping mechanisms within that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there was a time where derby was out of balance in my life, but there was also times where derby literally saved my life. And so I think just like anything in life, it's going to have its good, it's going to have its bad. And learning how to deal with that is the key. And it goes back to what we keep saying is like, you are a derby skater. Derby skater is not you. And so I think finding that balance, because I mean, everything's in life is about balance, right? Like eat your vegetables and your candy bar. Do you know what I mean? Go to derby practice and take a night off to watch a Disney movie. Have teammates that are friends and friends that are not teammates. Have friends that are teammates, but when you're not on skates, they're just friends. I think the importance is finding the balance. And just like anything with balance, you're going to pitch forward, you're going to pitch back, you're going to pitch sideways until you find that perfect line. And like you said, when you first start derby, it becomes kind of a little bit of an obsession. And so that's really where you have to formulate your balance and find your position relative to derby. But what's cool about it is you can always constantly reevaluate that.
So you already kind of told me about how you feel about the derby community. Unless you want to touch on that.
I'm eternally thankful for the derby community, because no matter where you go, you've always got family.
Yes.
So I might be grumpy about it, but it's like a family. It's anything like a family. I'm grumpy at you, but you can still crash on my couch.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
They're always your family, just like real family. They're always,
yep.
What have been some of your obstacles in derby? What has like gotten in between you and your relationship with derby?
My own physicality of it all. I have scoliosis, double curvature, and so my own physical, I have to know my own limits and know when to say no. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm hurting and I can't move today. So the physicality of it all, I've really had to realize that I'm a badass, but sometimes badasses need to sit on the bench. Or those kinds of things. The time element, it can be, if you allow it to be, very time consuming. Figuring out when I can go to practice, when I can't, who my trainers are, and who I can put on like training for that day. But mostly the obstacles with derby for me are just mental. I'm going through some shit. Is that something I need to take to practice or not? So mostly with derby, my obstacles are on me, and realizing my strengths and my limitations. Especially taking on leadership roles like captain and trainer and head of athletics and so many different things, like overcoming my own like imposter syndrome. So yeah.
Have you and roller derby ever broken up?
Oh yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah.
We also talked about what you were looking for when you started doing roller derby. Um, what did you find?
Empowerment. Um, I love that I get to call myself an athlete because I never was one. Um, I love that there's one thing I know and I can put my skates on my feet and I might not be the best player on that track, but I know I'm going to do what I can do. Um, I found a family, um, especially when my connection to my family is a little rough and tenuous at best. I found people that, I mean, I found my best friends in Derby, and I found my sister from another mister, and I found myself and who I want to be versus what I was told I had to be growing up. And so, just outside of the sport, I'm eternally thankful for roller derby for helping me find myself and being the yellow brick road that I followed to who I am. Um, it's brought me a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's brought me. And so I can't be mad at it for too long because here I am.
What has been your worst derby moment?
This is where we get into the dark side. I lost my two best friends from the league that I skate with because some shit went down that wasn't okay. And when I got on the board, I did everything I could to try and fix that problem, but it still wasn't enough. And so having to push and fight and scrape and yell and scream to defend my friends from a predatory skater made me hate derby. It got resolved, it got fixed and things like that, but it took so long for it to happen that it just drained me. Because at times it felt like I was the only person fighting for what was right. And that was the darkest time. And it went on for, oh gosh, like a year and a half of where I didn't know if my friends were going to talk to me because I was still associated with a sport, with a league that had done them wrong.
Yeah. Wow. That's tough.
So, yeah.
Kind of torn between two things that you love, right?
Yeah. And in their minds, I started representing this thing that they just wanted to burn to the ground. And they had every reason to want it to burn. But I was doing my best to save it for the future. Like, even if the current now was destroyed, this thing needed to exist for the future. So there were a lot of nights spent crying and nights where I didn't know if I could text my friends because I was struggling. And not because they wouldn't be there for me, but because I didn't feel like I had the right to, because I represented this dark, evil thing that had hurt them. Yeah.
Derby's made me cry at nights too. To the point where like my partner at the time was like, you act like somebody died. And it literally felt like that, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, it was into like, I don't know. I know we have viewers. Hopefully we have viewers that don't do derby that find this content interesting.
Right.
But
Hello out there. We see you and love you.
we do though. But if there's something that you don't get paid to do and
You
you
actually pay for it.
volunteer, yeah, you actually pay for it and you volunteer because you love it so much and it gives you this feeling that you've never felt before. And something is stealing it from you some way, shape, or form. It could be anything, your derby divorce, it could be, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It breaks your heart. It breaks your heart because
I
you're
mean, it's
afraid
grief,
that
it's loss.
yeah, like you're afraid that this amazing feeling that you got that you never found in anything else that you finally did find in your life is going to be taken and you're not going to be able to do this anymore. But then that's when it comes full circle to the part where you said, I'm powerful and I do derby.
Yeah.
I'm not powerful because I do derby, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
But that's where I felt like my power was in derby. And if that was taken away from me, I wasn't going to be happy. It took me years, almost a decade, to know that I'm worth it, whether I'm in my skates or not. That
And
I'm
that's a
still
scary process too, because it's literally like going through a breakup, because all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm going to try this new thing. I know I'm successful at derby. I don't know if I'm going to be successful at this thing.
Mhm.
And it feels like you're cheating on derby.
Mhm.
So like for me, I forced myself. I joined CrossFit because I'm like, no, if I the way I justified it to myself was I'm training for derby. And now in all honesty, don't tell. I have more fun at CrossFit than I do at derby on some days.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I go on my long runs or I get to train for a triathlon and I don't have to go when there's practice, I go whenever the fuck I feel like it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just me, and it's like, yeah, sometimes I used to think I was cheating on derby with racing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, sometimes I feel like, derby
The
is the
opposite.
other, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and but yeah, no, I get it. It's just sometimes, and you do find something else. Or it was like, oh, hey, you're that derby girl, or if they wanted, like, even when I wrote the book and like I had like an interview, they would be like, can you bring your skates? And it was like, I do other things besides derby, but I felt like that child actor that couldn't get rid of that like first
Right.
job. I was just known for being a derby girl and I kind of resented that. Now I'm embracing it because I'm doing something for derby like this and whatnot. But for a long time I wanted to be recognized that I do other things, not
Yeah.
just derby,
And
and
because roller derby is so unique and so like it's like so like it's like WWE wrestling. Like, is it fake? Is it real?
Mhm,
You actually do that? That's a thing you can do?
mhm,
Like, it's so cliche and yet at the same time so unknown that at once somebody finds out you do roller derby, they're fascinated by the roller derby. They're not fascinated by you. And
right.
so, like, I get it. We play a unique sport. It's like being part of a band. I
Yeah.
play drums for a band. You're part of this band, you know? And so, like, they're so fascinated by this thing they don't know about that they forget there's another side to you,
Mhm.
you know?
You
So
took
like, yeah, I do CrossFit, I go trail running, I did a Spartan, and I
Mhm.
bring up a Spartan and people are like, oh, that's so cool. And then I say, oh, I do roller derby. They're like, what? How do
Mhm.
you play it? What's the ball? Like, I remember
Mhm.
watching that growing up. And so like
Mhm.
I'm just gonna start telling people I don't do roller derby. Like I'm just gonna stop.
Right.
I'm kidding. That's how I get people to talk to me. But it's so uncommon that it's fascinating.
Yeah. And I don't like when people ask me like to explain it, I actually have a go-to YouTube video. When they want to know
Right?
the rules, I'm just like, let me send you this link. And I just say, I'm horrible at explaining the rules, so I'll just send you this. And they're not even like as updated, but it gives them the gist of it. And then
Right.
like, why don't you watch this? And then if you have any questions, I'll answer them.
I like to leave people confused. And so it's like hockey and NASCAR had a baby.
Nice.
And then I just leave it at that. I don't explain it anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if you want to know more, you will figure it out. But that's the teacher in me where I'm like, you'll figure it out or you won't. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, that I don't know. And then there's skaters out there that love explaining it. Or and I'm not the skater to go and ask if like what kind of skates to wear or what are the
yeah,
best
same.
builds are. I'm like, I don't buy new things. I'm a single mom of two. I get what I can when I can. Ask her. You know what I mean?
See,
Like,
I do that too. I'm like, I have no idea. Go talk to this person. My skate setup is stupid and works only for me because I've only tried it with other people, and other people are like, what is this? And I'm like, it's how I skate. But like, go ask other people, or like, hey, here's this Facebook group called Roller Derby Recyclables. Go on this. Like, I don't
ask them.
know.
I have no idea. I've always used what I had and made it work. That
Yep.
is, you know, and
Yep.
if anything, I'll like, you know, somebody will be like, your skate's really heavy. You might want like, and so, okay, I'll get another plate. And I just go
Yeah.
from there, you know, like, but I use these because they're lighter. I don't ask me any other questions about them. Like I was just told these are better. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know, so
They
yeah,
had 4 stars versus 3 stars on Amazon. That's all I got.
right.
You know?
I had
Yeah.
$200. This is what I bought.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I'm not the I don't have answers. I'm not right. I don't know if you ever remember Radio Shack. Probably not.
Yeah, I do. I'm
You do?
32.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm 43. I
So,
worked at
I
Radio
mean,
Shack.
Radio Shack. I remember Radio
You
Shack. I
have
remember
questions, we have
Blockbuster.
answers was the way you'd answer the phone. And I worked there, but I had no
We have
answers.
answers. Not me, but
I
they. The
had no
royal we. The royal we. Yeah.
Okay. Best derby moment.
So I had just started roller derby. I'd been skating for maybe a year and a half, and I got invited to join what was at the time the best roller derby team in Wyoming. And it was an hour and a half away from me. I had to go up and play for them. But me and one other person got invited to join them.
Mm.
And that was a hella proud moment for me because one, have we reiterated that I'm not athletic? I'm an athlete, but I'm not athletic. And so that was just validation that all the hard work, all the tears, all the blood, the sweat, the bruises mattered to someone. Because at the time I was on the outs with my league because they had this rivalry with another league that was in the same town. I know, right? 2 roller derby teams in a town in Wyoming. And so they kind of treated me like crap and were on their way to pushing me out. But I still got invited to join this team. And it was glorious.
Mm.
And then everybody quit and that team went into the dumpster. But I was there for like a couple of months before that happened. So that was glorious for that moment. And like, I didn't get any recognition. The other person got recognition from our team that we went back to. I didn't, but I knew that that was validation for me that I was doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Generically, I love those moments where I've been coaching someone and it just sinks in. And in about, they come up to me and they're like, did you see me do that? And I was like, yeah, I did. And you did that on your own. Like, they're like, no, you helped me. I was like, no, I put the garbage in your brain. Your body made it work. Like, so those are my 2 favorite moments. Those aha moments, but also like toot my own horn kind of thing. So.
That's awesome. So how have you been coping with the pandemic and derby? I know now it's opening up, but how are you coping?
It was a nice break.
Mm. I get that.
I missed it. I missed the people. I still kept up with my workouts. I would go because I have a park that's not far from me. I would go trail skate outside. We would host online Zoom workouts. We would do team hangouts. But I think having that time to reset, having that time to reevaluate where I stood with Derby was nice. I got to explore things other than Derby. I started trail running. I started CrossFit again. I started doing things that I loved before while still maintaining a little bit of Derby. So it was like a seasoning of Derby versus like a full meal. And it was nice. We've met the qualifications to come back. We're doing what we can to be safe. We've had to shut down because we did have a positive COVID case, so we're shut down for a little bit. But even that was nice because when I came back with, I'm only going 3 days a week. I'm only going 2 days a week. I'm still going to prioritize these other things that I fell in love with. So for a lot of people, the mental health of it all struggled. My mental health excelled. And I'm not laughing at their pain. I'm laughing at myself because I am powerful and I do Derby. That shift happened during COVID, during the pandemic, during the shutdowns and everything like that. It was stressful because I was still on the boards. We had to try to find a way to check in with skaters and like see those kinds of things. We still had a building that we had to pay for because we couldn't get out of our lease and anything like that. We couldn't qualify for any grants. So that part was stressful, but like every Wednesday I'd get online, be like, we're doing a workout online. If you're there, cool. If you're not, cool. And like just offering things for people to have the option to do. Yeah. It was nice. Because I still got to hang out with my friends and do other things. Because we immediately formed a pod during the COVID shutdown. We lived within a block of each other, so we made sure to like communicate if we'd been exposed. Because like I didn't have to go to work, my friends didn't, like were working from home and things like that. So the mental health aspects that most people worry about weren't there for me. I wasn't isolated, and I went back to my whole like weird kid sitting in a corner reading. It was nice to sit in a corner and read again. So yeah. Yeah, I just made it available that if people wanted to do Derby, they could. And if they didn't, they could. Like, do you. But yeah. I liked it because I found that I was powerful without Derby.
Do you have any words of encouragement for other skaters who maybe aren't able to skate yet? Or who are back skating and not sure what they want to do anymore?
Derby will always be there. Like we said, we personified it. Derby will always be there. Be patient. Focus on you. You'll come back and it will be fine. Too many of us worry about the what ifs. The what ifs will always be there. We don't play the what if game. You're powerful and you do Derby. You're not powerful because you do Derby.
That's the new mantra.
I like it.
Yeah.
I am amazed by my own depth in that moment. Mm-hmm. And so now it's a thing. I might get that tattooed on my body.
That's beautiful. Yes. Thank you, KT, because you're also not just your alter ego. And I want to thank everybody for watching and enjoying this interview with us. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Hi, thank you for putting up with my weirdness.
Both of our weirdness.